We'll call the DuPont City Council meeting for June 9th, 2015 to order at 7:01 p.m. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Coffey. Here. Councilmember Quartz.
Here.
Councilmember Eastep. Here. Councilmember Gassick. Here. Councilmember Gorski. Here. Councilmember Trotter. Here. Councilmember Westman.
Here.
City Administrator Ted Danick.
Here.
Finance Director Katie Henry. Here. Police Chief Bob Sheehan.
Here.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So first up on the docket, council, is the approval of the agenda. I have no changes. Are there any changes from the council? If not, a motion to approve would be in order. Motion's been made by Councilmember Coffey, seconded by Councilmember Gorski. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We have one appointment tonight. As everyone knows, we're always looking for volunteers to step up and make a positive difference. We have a vacancy on several boards, and we had Mr. Kyle McCreary. He stepped up tonight and said he wanted to volunteer on the tree board, and we greatly appreciate it. It's something that is someone that's tackling many tough issues in our community. And just a little background about Mr. McCreary. Kyle is a native of southern Indiana. He's a 20-year Army veteran, having served as both an enlisted soldier and commissioned officer in the Military Intelligence Corps. After retiring from active duty in 2008, he and his wife and daughter and son, they made their home in Bell Hill in DuPont. He has an associate's degree in Korean language, a BA in political science, and a master's degree in information technology. He has many impressive credentials and many impressive credentials serving at Joint Base Lewis McChord and in our service to our country. So, Mr. McCreary, thank you so much for your service to our country and also to our community. With that, council, a motion to confirm the appointment would be in order. Motion's been made by Councilmember Quartz, seconded by Councilmember Eastep. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for your service and congratulations. Next on the docket is public comments. This is the first of two opportunities for anyone wishing to speak to any issue on or off the record. Is there anyone that would like to make public comments this evening? All right, we'll go on to the consent agenda. Council, the consent agenda is before you. It reflects the special council meeting minutes and regular council meeting minutes for those that are out in the audience. A motion would be in order, council, to approve the consent agenda before you. Motion's been made by Councilmember Quartz, seconded by Councilmember Coffey. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So we have one discussion item tonight, and this is continuing in line with our goals to improve efficiency and effectiveness and cut costs. What you have before you is a proposed jail contract, and it's an innovative new approach that hasn't been done widely by many municipal partners around here, but it makes a lot of sense for us, both from a cost-effective perspective and a community relationship perspective with our partners just down the street, the Nisqually tribe. So, Chief, would you walk us through this document and council, and then we'll open it up for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We currently have a jail contract with Pierce County, which is more expensive than the proposed contract with the Nisqually tribe. As an example, the Nisqually tribe will be charging $20 for booking and $65 for a daily rate. Pierce County is presently charging $213 for booking and $85 for a daily rate. Not only is the Nisqually jail closer to DuPont and provides easier access, the city of Lakewood is also contracted for services with the Nisqually jail and will be transporting DuPont arrestees since we're working with the Lakewood courts. This contract is for misdemeanor arrests only, and all felony arrests will continue to be incarcerated in the Pierce County jail, which is state law. We will continue to contract with Pierce County Jail as a backup for misdemeanor arrests if we can come to an agreement on a contract in the future. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Council, any questions or any discussion? Councilmember Gorski.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief. I wanted to know, when I was reading this, as far as the differences and similarities on the liability for medical and damages that may happen to a prisoner while in custody with the Nisqually tribe versus that with Pierce County. Is that aligned to what we're used to from a previous contract? Is it different?
It is different, and I would like to defer that to the city attorney, so I'll have to get back to you with the answer to that question, if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Good question. Any other comments, questions? Councilmember Coffey.
Chief, I wondered if, because we're, governed by state laws, and this is basically a federal reservation, are there going to be conflicts there?
Again, I would defer that one to the city attorney, but I can tell you, we have discussed that, and that's come up in our discussions between Jay and myself, and we feel very comfortable moving forward with what we have.
Chief, if I might,
You have
yeah, I'd just kind of clear that up. Jay's excuse tonight, he's a family event that he had to attend. And while I can't quote the specific RCWs like he could, there is an RCW covering the incarceration and imprisonment of people. And that says you can only contract with counties, or excuse me, with counties and other municipalities. Elsewhere in the RCW is an overarching and all-encompassing law that says you can treat and do business, and with proper, that's you guys' legislative approval, you may enter into interlocal agreements with any sovereign tribe. So that's the RCW that gives us the authority to contract with Nisqually. And we first started discussing this, it actually raised some eyebrows, and we need to really dig into that. But we feel, like Chief said, completely confident that the RCWs allow this, and there shouldn't be any sort of friction or any sort of problems because they're a tribe and we're a city in Washington.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Westman.
Yes, in your background statement, you indicated that the city of Lakewood is also contracted for services with the Nisqually Jail and will be transporting DuPont arrestees there. Do they have a history with the Nisqually tribe? How long have they been under their contract, or is it new, just like we're proceeding with here?
Councilmember Westman, they have had a contract with Nisqually for quite some time with their misdemeanor arrests. And they actually have people who are paid to pick up prisoners and transport them to the court. So that would happen for us, and it's part of our contract with Lakewood. And this would be a very smooth, easy transition, better transition actually for us when it comes to the courts and the jail itself.
Judging from your statement then, the city of Lakewood seems to be very satisfied with any sort of liability situations or the relationships between the city and the tribe, even though they are on trust land for the Indian tribe. Sounds pretty reasonable to me. Thank you.
And we'll have our attorney follow up on that liability aspect of it. So any other questions, comments, discussion points, council? Okay, we'll move on and continue this conversation moving forward. Next up on the docket is the mayor's report. I've got a couple of points to hit for you all. Last night we had the comp plan. In 2013, everyone may remember that we put money into the budget to update the comp plan, and there's been a long community-wide process that's been happening, taking feedback and going through several stages of doing this. It's been since, what, Kathy, 2008, 2009 that this is? 2005. It goes back a long time. Anyway, the long story short, this is long overdue, and it's something that is important for us to do to make sure that we're compliant with the law. But the most important part is this is what helps us articulate a proactive, positive, forward-looking vision for the city, and this is the tool that will serve us in that future growth. It also includes the development of the city's first-ever economic development plan. So this is a big step, and I'll defer to Councilmember Westman to give a briefing. He and several of the council members were there last night. But the important thing is just to encourage people to pay attention to this process. There's updates and community alerts that you can sign up for on our website. This does shape the future of our city, and it's important to have everyone to continue to be involved in this effort moving forward. Not only that, something that we will be disciplined about doing going forward is there is the opportunity for an annual update. So we're not going to get everything right this time. In fact, some things may well remain the same, but we're going to be very intentional going forward of doing that annual update so that we're continuing to look forward and be on the horizon of economic development and future growth and planning. The next thing I want to update folks on is we had a meeting with the South Sound Military and Communities Partnership. This is something that is really a great opportunity for us to leverage resources for military community partnerships, for economic development, as well as for transportation. They've been helpful for all the efforts that we've been putting forth to relieve the congestion along the I-5 JBLM corridor. Councilmember Courts and Councilmember Coffey and Ted Danik and I attended this meeting. There was update and recognition on the work from Congressman Heck, who's working to get funding up for I-5 upgrades through the Department of Defense programs, and he still seemed optimistic and positive about that aspect. And there was recognition that the South Sound Military and Community Partnership is a model not only in Washington State but nationwide for bringing communities together to deal with tough issues like we're dealing with in the Washington Military Alliance, the possible downsizing of Joint Base Lewis McChord, and the Joint Land Use Study, which is ongoing right now and is almost complete. And so more information on their website, but it was well received that DuPont continues to be an active partner and participant in that forum. Coming up, a couple of events. We have the Ice Cream Social Wednesday, June 10th at 2 p.m. That'll be at Powder Works Park. On the 13th, on Saturday, is our citywide garage sale, yard sale. Encourage everyone to take part in that, promote it in the ways that are allowed with the DuPont sign code and the ROA, and then please make sure to take down all of your signage as you advertise your garage and your yard sales. And again, that's Saturday, the 13th from 8 to 3. Everybody knows about the U.S. Open coming up. It's going to be a lot of excitement. It's going to be a lot of people here. As folks know, that the United States Golf Association, all their officials are staying in DuPont. So DuPont is the home for the USGA, and they'll be driving to and from chambers back and forth. But for folks that want to travel to the U.S. Open or manage traveling around the people that are traveling to the U.S. Open, it's going to be sticky. If you're going to the Open, Fort Steilacoom Park and Puyallup Fairgrounds are the two shuttle points. There will be access that'll be restricted along DuPont Steilacoom Drive and through Steilacoom, but we can't give you much more detail than that. It's going to change and vary, and so the best thing that you can do is check our website and check the websites that are linked on our site for the latest traffic information as you try to navigate either to the U.S. Open or around it. One special event that's going to be happening is a welcome reception on June 19th. It's going to be at Clock Tower Park, and it's going to include wine tasting, and it's a fee and lots of hors d'oeuvres. I think it actually says heavy hors d'oeuvres. I don't know if it means if it's high in calorie or if they're just really big or there's going to be a lot of them, but either way, it's going to be good. But tickets are for sale for DuPont residents for $10 and $20 for non-DuPont residents, and that does come with a commemorative U.S. Open glass. So there's that. And then as soon as all the hustle and bustle of the U.S. Open resolves, we were going to have a meeting about the off-leash area for dogs. This is something that I put in the budget, and as soon as we get through the U.S. Open, everyone will see the announcement about the date and the time and some of the options. We'll bring folks together to look at some of the options that we've teed up so that we can move forward with this this year as was outlined in my budget before. That's all I have for the mayor's update. Ted, do you have anything?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First and most important update I have is we are switching to the automated refuse pickup. I received my phone call today from LeMay, and I think most of the DuPont people have too. But it's starting Thursday, LeMay is going to come by everybody's house and drop off the new cans, and you'll get the same number of cans that you have on your current service. So if you put 2 out every week, you'll get 2 new bins. If you have 1, you get 1. And then Sunday is a makeup day, in case there's a moving truck or something like that. And they do know who gets a can and who doesn't, because they have to put the serial number of the can with an address. So they'll come back Sunday if they missed anybody, and we will all have our new cans. And on the 22nd is when they will start that service. If you would like your old can recycled, excuse me, LeMay will be mailing all of us an information kit on the switchover. If you'd like a new or your old can recycled, they will have an orange sticker in that packet. That needs to go in the trash can because they don't want to make any mistakes and pick up someone's trash can by accident. So they won't pick it up unless you put that sticker on. If you want them to recycle it, they'll pick it up, put it out the curb as normal. That will be in the information. All this is on our website, and as I said, you'll be getting a letter from LeMay plus an email if you're on their list, and the executives told me about 90% of us are on that list. So look for that in the next few days. Some technical updates from the comp plan meeting last night that the mayor was talking about. We had discussed, there had been a citizen comment, and we set up a new notify me button on our website. So much like the Friday letter or Parks and Rec information, if you would like information on the planning department and the comp plan update, just go to our website, select notify me, check the planning box, and you will get automatic emails from here forward. And everybody that signed up last night will also get that without having to go to our website. Also, the briefing from last night is posted online already, so if you happen to miss that meeting, it's up and the presentation is there. Coffee with the Chief will be Thursday, June 18th. There is a rumor floating around. I cannot confirm nor deny this, but there's a rumor that with the U.S. Open in town, there might be a news crew there getting a local interest story. So if you are of the mind to be on national TV, just a rumor, I might go to that one. It'll be pretty big. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the I-5 ramp metering. I put this in my Friday letter, but I wanted the council and the citizens to know everything we're doing. When they first rolled it out a couple Mondays ago, as you know, we had a lot of traffic backup. WSDOT was more than good to work with us. They got the timing down the way they want it. The last couple Fridays have been really packed. And in my discussions with WSDOT, what that is really what is the summer phenomenon around here where everybody is heading south for the weekend. It's just nothing new. Right now with the ramp metering up and down the I-5 JBLM corridor, it's not just us who has these backups. It's a very busy freeway. The ramp metering is new. And so a lot of people, we think, this hasn't borne out by any studies, but we think a lot of people are trying to find the alternate way to avoid the I-5 backup. And as we do to go to Tacoma and Lakewood, so do they to come south. So especially on Fridays, we're getting a lot of traffic. What we've done about that is last Friday, State Patrol was out on the ramps. They control the ramps, so we really can't send our officers out there and override the lights. But last Friday, State Patrol was out there doing the best they could, waving people through the lights to try to unjam DuPont a little bit. Our chief is in contact with the state troopers. We're working with WSDOT. And I would just urge everybody to be patient. I think over time, when the people that are trying to skip I-5 get in a long line, be it our exit or 124 and 125, they're going to quit trying to do that, and they're just going to stay on the freeway. That's our hope. But we are working with them. Some of the residual fallout we've noticed is there's some left turn issues and some yielding issues that we can take care of, both from law enforcement, chief, and the police department are going to be looking at that, making sure people aren't cutting a line and things like that. And then we're getting some problems if you're trying to turn on to Center Drive when it's backed up. I've already talked to our traffic engineer from Gray and Osborne. I think there are, and we're going to have to look and see what it costs and everything, but we can do some lane and signal movements so that kind of change the pattern of turns so that if you just want to go straight or right on Center, you're not stuck behind 20 people trying to go left. So kind of a three-pronged approach. We know it's backed up. I urge you to be patient. We're doing everything we can, and I really do think over a period of time this is going to sort itself out. Let's see. Two more things. I just want to give an update on the bathroom at Clock Tower Park. I'm happy to report if you drive by there, you'll see real walls. And I saw a citizen email, and I talked to an elected official last night, and there seems to be a misperception out there, so I wanted to address it. This bathroom is a true community effort. We have over $37,000 coming in from ROA-COA, and that was used towards some concrete and plumbing work. We have Cal Portland that's donated already and will donate more, but has already donated over $10,000 in concrete. Menke and Pinnacle Lumber have donated all the building supplies for free. I haven't added all that up, but I guarantee you it's right around another $10,000. And then one of our two service organizations, the Lions Club, has donated labor. So I wanted everybody to know this is a city project, but it's taken a community effort from many, many different fronts to bring to fruition. And I would love to tell you that I could guarantee it's going to be open for July 4th. And I told Councilman Courts today, I'm this close to telling you this, but give me one more week. We got a little roofing thing I got to work through, but I think I am sleeping again at night. So July 4th is a very reasonable target. I do believe we're going to have bathrooms up there, but I can't guarantee them just yet. We had a citizen pass by the other day, and she mentioned what we really should just do is build the walls and throw 2 porta potties in there. It'd be a lot cheaper. I'm like, it kind of defeats the purpose. Last thing, this is a question for council. The 23rd meeting, 3 council members and the mayor will be at the AWC conference. We ran into this last year, so I just wanted to tee this up. Mayor, if you'd like to talk about it now, great. If sometime later in the meeting, but we would like to know if you guys want to continue the meeting with the 4 that would be here or not. That's all I have. Thank you.
I guess the good question for council, for those that are not going to the AWC conference, would you like to have a meeting or would you like to cancel the meeting?
I'm for canceling.
Councilmember Trotter, Councilmember Gorski, Councilmember Gassick, Councilmember Eastep, thoughts?
What's on the agenda?
There is no agenda at this point.
Do we have any pressing items that need to be voted on?
No?
We don't know?
If there was, then we wouldn't be going to the AWC conference.
Okay. I'm fine if you want to cancel it.
Councilmember Westman.
Yeah, I understand that if there's a meeting called, then the 4 would have to elect a mayor pro tem that evening.
Yeah, because you and I are gone.
Yes, we'll be at the conference over in Wenatchee.
Does that mean we don't have a quorum then, because we have a mayor pro tem and only 3 council?
No, you could have 4 and then you just nominate someone to chair someone at that time. Pass. Okay. Councilmember Gorski.
Well, that information, we get a lot done with you guys gone.
First and second for that sidewalk policy. That's out flying through.
Too bad the chickens aren't ready.
So we will cancel the meeting unless Councilmember Gorski gets the votes to expedite the sidewalk policy for it, and then you guys just be ready.
I may want to stay home.
All right, so Ted, you guys got the direction you needed? Okay. Anything else that you have, Ted?
No, thank you.
All right. Council reports. Councilmember Courts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Administrator Danick and I met with Sue Dreyer, the CEO of Pierce Transit, and Van Sowen from the Business Development Office. Had about an hour-and-a-half meeting with them today. It's going to be a slow process, and it doesn't surprise me. I'm becoming more familiar with how they view the business model, and it's probably different than how we view the business model. But the way this thing will play out in the short term, Pierce Transit has a survey company under contract. They're going to develop a survey. They'll bounce it off us to make sure that they're covering the type of topics that we want. And then we're going to look at who to get it to, how to get it to everybody, telephonically, email. We're also interested in reaching out to some of our larger corporate members within the city, because we think that public transportation could be key to that. Once that takes place, depending on the results of the survey and how we as a body and Pierce Transit as a body feel about it, the next step would be to move into some public hearings and town hall meetings and get a more live sense of the public that'll allow them to start to coalesce that. Ted and I, in our discussion, think we need to reach out, particularly to Amazon, who's public transport friendly, in the short term to get public transportation. And short, I don't mean months. It would probably be advantageous to us to have corporate partnership as we do that would have interest in it. Full annexation, I sense some reluctance on behalf of Pierce Transit. And I probably share the same reluctance because the model, quite honestly, and we had a frank discussion with it, the model they look at, you annex and the money that we contribute is part of their pool. And then they look at what are the routes that put the most people on buses. I think we look at it as a customer. If we pay somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million a year, we want $500,000 to $1 million a year worth of service. They have a different way of looking at the model, so we want to walk into that slowly. We could very easily see us get to a point, still requiring a ballot measure, that we went to the contract stage of the 0.2%, and that would provide us a baseline of service, and we would run a test period of a year or two, and then it.
That's awesome.
Does it have a
I'm not going to
comment?
chase them all over.
It's hot outside, okay? Yeah.
We used to have a cat at the others.
So anyway, the process is going to.
Yeah, anyone want to make public comments? There's a snake.
It's not poisonous.
It's going to be a lengthy process. We will continue pushing on it. I at this point wouldn't venture a guess to how the thing is going to play out, but we'll continue moving forward with the eventual goal of providing reasonable public transportation to the citizens of DuPont.
Appreciate all you're doing to keep moving that conversation forward. It was a smart move for us to withdraw to make sure that, you know, we're not wasting money from the sales tax, but I think it's important for us to look at this resource. Other folks to talk to, Amazon you mentioned, the folks from Patriots Landing, the leadership there, said they're very interested in local bus service. I've had several residents talk to me about this, as well as the new owner of Intel, as they look to put new companies back there. Bruce Haas and the other folks that we have, there's a tech company moving in there later this summer that they also could be partners that we should, that I can be glad to connect you with. Councilmember Westman, then Councilmember Trotter.
Yes, I'd like to comment about the meeting last night with the planning agency, and as we dealt with the proposed comp plan, this firm out of Spokane is doing a very professional job for us. It is truly outstanding where they have taken the previous comp plan together with the proposals that were introduced in 2008, together with the comments that were made by the public speakers and the comments that were put on the comment cards, and they have integrated that together into some great publications. And if you weren't in attendance, I really suggest that you go to the city website. I'm hoping that those publications that were available last night are on the website, because in going over them today, they are doing just an outstanding job of trying to put together what the citizens and staff and council see DuPont in the years to come. It was very, very informational last night, and there's going to be further opportunities for the public to participate. The chairperson for the planning agency indicated that when it comes time for them to consider, they're going to open it on up, and they want the people to be there in order to express their concerns, be it positive or be it negative, or the add-ons that they wish to have under consideration. So the process is for the planning agency to finish their work of, I believe it was about the 1st of July, someplace in through there, and that they're going to recommend their finished product to us at the council level. And we then are going to have an opportunity to take a look at it in detail, receive public comments, at that particular time as well, and then formally adopt it. Now, there's a review process that the state is going to do as well, so it's not a slam dunk deal, because they're going to be looking at, I believe it was ecology or one of those departments down there.
Department of Commerce.
And they're going to make sure that those important factors that the state mandates are in that comp plan. I'm looking forward to it. It's very well written, and it's easy reading, by the way, so everyone should have an opportunity to really gather the concept, the future, where we're going. It deals with economic development. It deals with historical development of the sites and so on. And then the last document is, well, how do we do it? How do we get there? And that's going to be a very, very interesting process in order to establish some direction on how we are going to establish the goals that are stated in the comp plan, as well as the policies, making sure that they are implemented. So I'm extremely pleased at the progress that is being made in reference to that comp plan.
Additional council reports. Thank you, Councilmember Westman. Councilmember Eastep.
This past weekend, a Eagle Scout project occurred over at the museum. Jackson Miller from Troop 71, the Stilicum DuPont troop, is a life scout, and he was working on his Eagle Scout project. There were many people there, and they built about 160 lineal feet of trail from the front of the museum to the railroad shelter out back. I'd like to say that Scott Hine was outstanding. The support that they received was brilliant, and the scouts are high energy, and Scott was able to keep up. I think he thought he was going to be leaning on a shovel, but he wasn't. So he was really hopping and popping, and that's some of the best support I've seen at an Eagle Scout project from the city. So thanks to the city, also to Cal Portland for donating the gravel for that. And so when you get a chance, go take a look at that path. Good project. So that was well done.
It's awesome. Any other council comments, council reports? Okay, we'll move on. There's no unfinished business. New business. When I came into office, one of the things I heard a lot from folks was we want to be able to use the Civic Center, which is City Hall and the Emergency Operations Building. And obviously we use the Fire Bay for a lot of our events. And we, within the administrative power, we made sure that this facility was more open for use than it ever has been before. During business hours, encourage people to come on in and make use of it. But when I was sitting down with Councilmember Eastep last year, and we're going through the budget, talking about, what do we really want, and how can we, take things to the next level from a policy and a budget perspective. And one of the things that he said was, I really want to see us move forward with a broader policy, and to expand the facility and civic center use policy requires action for council to take that to the next level. And so what we've done is we have a draft facility civic center use policy for council for you to consider that staff has prepared. This is the first reading tonight, so it'll be good for us to walk through it at a high level. And then what we'll do is take comments, take edits, ask you guys for amendments, additions, revisions. You'll submit those to staff. They'll pull those together. We'll have a second reading and keep this moving forward to keep the vision of having a city hall and emergency operations center more open for public use. So with that, I'll call on Amy Walker to just talk through this at a high level, and Ted, and we'll go from there and then open it up for council comments and discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just going to handle the process, and then Ms. Walker can walk us through the content. In the cover sheet is a good summation, but there's 3 separate activities and actions for council to do to get the new Civic Center policy in place. First is amend DMC 10.02. It used to say just a community center, and we're going to add Civic Center in. The second is a resolution adopting the new policy, and that's the main bulk of what was in your packet. And then the third one is with the fees, we have to amend the fee chart. So there will be a resolution there. And so what our intent is, we had a discussion of all 3 events at the April 14th meeting. We'll just talk about the ordinance today for first reading, but I wanted to make sure everyone knew the other two subjects, even though aren't specifically talking about tonight. If you have any comments or fixes on those that we put in your packet, please let me know.
Amy?
Good evening, Council, Mayor. The updated facility use policy before you includes your comments from the April 14th meeting. Included in that are the user priorities that Councilman Eastep brought up, reoccurring reservations, special attendant fees for after-hour rentals, as well as a volunteer points program that Councilman Eastep also recommended. I apologize that you don't have a physical copy of that in your packet. There was a live link when your packet was emailed to you. So with that, I can answer any questions you may have. But the comments that you made at the April 14th meeting are included in the updated policy.
Councilmember Coffey.
Yes. This applies only to City Hall, the council chambers, not to the EOC.
It does include the EOC as well.
It does include the EOC?
It does. What the difference, Councilmember Coffey, with an EOC rental is that there will be a facility attendant during an EOC rental at all times, whether it's regular business hours or not. They will have an attendant on site.
Okay. The reason I question that is because I've had comments made to me that there were concerns about the amount of electronic equipment that is in the EOC, and if it perhaps was a group with a lot of small children, that there might be, some issues involving that, tampering with stuff and whatnot. Little kids get into things. And then also, this only applies to the council chambers. It does not apply to the kitchen.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Gorski.
There's a mention of the flooring in the community centers being luxury vinyl plank, but in this room we obviously have carpeting. Do we think that the security cleaning deposit of $200 is adequate to recover any damages from foodstuffs or anything on a carpet that may have to be cleaned or replaced? Do we know if that is enough to cover damages to a different facility like this?
We discussed that as a park agency, and we do think that will cover it. There is room in the policy that if there were additional charges, that the user would then be billed for that.
Any follow-up? Okay. Councilmember Trotter and Councilmember Eastep.
I know we discussed the limitations on recurring meetings, but I have some concerns on that. And maybe Councilmember Eastep can shed some light on it. Because when I was in Girl Scouts, we met the same place every week or whatever. But if we're saying that there's a chance that they have to resubmit their request every 90 days, that's kind of going to make it inconvenient for things like scout meetings that are, all through the school year. So, I wonder whether there are certain organizations that, should be able to get an annual meeting time that they always meet, and they always have that meeting time unless there is a city function that would bump them out. Like when I was in Girl Scouts, we met in a church. However, if the church was having a function, we lost our meeting space. But we knew where we were meeting every day, all year, not just for the next 3 months. And I think it might be kind of inconvenient for, Andy's Boy Scouts or somebody's Girl Scout troop to all of a sudden, not just for one meeting, but for the next 3 months have to find another meeting space. So I have some concerns on that. And as far as the electronic equipment goes, I know that when the facility was originally in the EOC, when the facility was originally built and opened, that's what we always heard, was that there's so much electronic equipment here. And having been in numerous meetings and programs and things there, the only electronic equipment that I've ever seen in there, short of the laptop people brought in to display on the boards, are the video monitors way high up. All the really sensitive emergency equipment is all locked away behind closed doors, so I don't have a concern for that. I think that having access to that video equipment, opens it up for a lot of, potential, the screens opens it up for a lot of potential, programs for teenagers, sleepovers, slumber party events for Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, whatever, Mom's Club. There's a lot of, but I don't have the concerns about them fiddling with the sensitive emergency equipment that is probably behind the locked doors. The chief would know better, but as far as I know, there's nothing, everything that has any sensitivity for the emergency management system that we have is behind locked doors and away from prying fingers.
Councilmember Eastep.
I think I'm okay with the way that the reservation is written for now. I mean, the goal is to get citizens to use this space, so I think it's a good idea to start out that way and then see how the chips fall if there is a recurring reservation. And, because, yeah, that is a valid concern for organizations that are trying to meet every single week. But if we're just starting out, we'll see how the use goes, I think. Second comment I would have was perhaps it might be a good idea, particularly in this building, and I think it's carpet over in the EOC, but just having a vacuum on hand that the users can use. I've run into that before where they want to clean up the stuff that got on the floor, but it's hard to, so that might be something to consider that's accessible either in that closet or whatever meeting room we're in, so thank you.
And just to add on to the 90-day aspect, the other, and I can't remember which council member said it, but there was also the concern, Councilmember Trotter, of some group coming in and locking it in for the whole year and keeping people out. And so I think trying to find that balance between making sure that it is accessible, like Councilmember Eastep said, at the same time, you're not barring other organizations that may want to have that opportunity from having that opportunity. So it's a tough balance, and any suggestions that you have would be welcomed, because it is an important issue to address on both sides. Councilmember Westman.
Yes, on page 11, under the alcoholic beverages, I understand that there is a process by which the renters would be able to secure permission to serve alcohol, and I respect that. My concern has to do with what type of alcohol are we talking about? All phases of alcohol?
Top shelf, only things on the
Oh,
top shelf.
the Scotch, the Scotch level. Okay. I know many public facilities, they do allow only beer and wine, but none of the so-called hard liquors. So, and then the reference is to alcohol policies, and you have a reference there. I wasn't able to get there to review that. So maybe that answers the question. I understand there should be some sort of security guard when alcohol is being served. And there's a $500 deposit now. Is that a refundable deposit? Okay. And therefore, what is the purpose of the $500 deposit for serving alcohol then? Why are we charging the $500?
Well, the opportunity for damage anytime alcohol's involved is always greater than when it's not.
Well said. trying to control my internal voice. Very good.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm on it. And Councilman Westman, City Clerk just pulled up the policy. Beer, wine, and champagne only in city facilities is the answer to your question, and we posted up there for you.
Okay.
Any further questions? Councilmember Gorski.
Getting back to the damage statement, I did locate on page 7. I don't know if it needs to be kind of communicated within this side, but internally at least, from procedural and the way we run it, to define damage so you don't get into disputes with people afterwards would be helpful. And when we're talking again about the carpet, and I think it's a great idea to have a vacuum cleaner so people can, clean up and do the right thing. But if we just kind of define that for the people up front, because I'd hate to see disputes coming in if we're going to seek a larger deposit per event. If there's some criteria around that, threshold maybe that it goes from 2 to 5 after a certain number of people, or alcohol is mentioned, that might be something to consider. I don't necessarily think it needs to be put into this, but I think we do have to consider that those may be the source of disputes. And I would say that the likelihood of damages goes up also when children are involved, and not just alcohol. So for those of us who've been through that ourselves.
Sometimes children come from alcohol. That's all goes full circle. Councilmember Coffey.
Could we go back to the criteria if you're serving alcoholic beverages? Did you say there has to be a police officer on staff?
That's correct, a uniformed officer,
And then who pays for that uniformed officer?
the user.
They do.
Okay. Okay, thank you. No.
All right, that's the last comment, or question. Any other comments, questions, additional discussion on this kind? All right, we'll move forward. This is the second opportunity for public comments on the agenda. Is there anyone wishing to speak to any item on or off the agenda tonight? All right, council comments? Councilmember Eastep?
Ted, would we be able to get an update on the project area, sidewalk project area?
Sure. The current update is all trees, I'm just going to go in chronological order in case you haven't been following. All trees were removed, the stumps ground out, the sidewalks were torn up, sidewalks were repoured. In there, we had members of Public Works, the arborist, and other engineers from our city engineer shop, G&O, took a look at what was going on underneath the sidewalks. Then they repoured the sidewalks. So as we sit today, Palisade is reopened. The sidewalk is basically curing. They have some touch-up work, and they need to replant the planting strip with grass. But all the new trees are in. They look really good. They're all set up. There was root barriers put in. So the project is mostly done, just some cleanup.
Councilmember Coffey.
Yes, following up on that, Ted, could we,
Sorry.
could we have a full report when the project is finished from Gray and Osborne? I was down there a couple times, and I know that Gray and Osborne had a staff person on the job site. And some of the things that he told me was just unbelievable, like 4 dump truck loads of roots, and, you know, I'd really like a full report for the benefit of the community.
We absolutely will. Thank you. And Gray and Osborne had an inspector there at all times.
Yes,
That's correct.
thank
And our
you.
arborist will also provide a full report as well. Councilmember Quartz.
Yeah, on that same topic, one, I assume we still have the third piece of this to go, that there were 3 sides of a street that we're going to do 2 on the same street, and then the additional piece that we added. We haven't done the additional piece yet, correct? And that's different trees.
I don't know what it is with you, Councilmember Quartz, but every
Time I
snake
talk,
comes
the
out.
snake comes out. As long as Chief doesn't pull the gun.
Come on, Carol, get in there.
Yeah, I should have brought my dogs here. They would have taken care of that.
So would my cats.
And Andy, maybe you know,
That's a constituent.
yeah, the McDonald's
And we
site,
threw it
yeah.
out?
Yeah, we still have that to go yet. And then, as I was looking at the trees, I am assuming, you know, months and months ago, we had a report from the tree board on what the trees were that we were going to put up. And there was a specific type of tree, and then a different tree at the corners. Did we do that there? We didn't do that there.
No, they're all Japanese silk ivory. And frankly, I just went through the other day and I noticed the same thing, so I'm going
That's
to
what, because they looked like all the same tree.
they are, and I'm going to have to figure out what happened.
Okay.
As you get out on a project, sometimes, honestly, the engineers just change things up on the fly, so I need to get some follow-up on that for you.
Okay, I didn't know if I had just missed something there. All right, thank you.
Any additional council comments? All right, there's no executive session. We will adjourn the meeting at 7:50. Have a wonderful evening.
Ah, you're doing better there, man.